In this video, I'm going to show you how to take the 3D model of our shim and to be able to create toolpaths on it so that we are able to cut these out on our scene. The first thing that we need to do is we need to change from our design workspace over to our manufacturing. On design, manufacture. What we need to do now is we have the model of our finished part that we need. What we need to do now is we need to create the blank or the piece of stock that we're going to be machining from. So to do that in Fusion 360, we need to go over to our setup. We can right click it or we can click on setup up there. We click new setup. And you'll see we'll have this kind of translucent yellow box that goes around, and that's going to be the size of our stock. I'm going to click on our stock first, and then we'll go back and we'll finish that setup. For our mode, we are going to have a fixed size box, and the width in the X is going to be 3 inches. The model position is going to be centered in the X direction. Our depth is going to be 0.25. And our height is going to be 0.25. But our model position in our Z is going to be offset from the bottom 0 inches. So when we're done, we have a model that is all the way on the bottom of our part, and we're going to machine off the top so that we'll be able to do this in one operation. So then we want to go back to our setup, and we want to make sure that we are doing a milling operation. And our stock box point is going to be in this top left corner. You'll see when we go over to our machine, we're going to have a part rest over on the left-hand side here. We're going to have the solid jaw of our vise over here, and we'll have zeroed our machine in the Z axis coming down. So that is going to be our 000, or our origin, from our CAM software over to our machinery. Okay. The first toolpath we are going to do is a facing toolpath that will take off the very top of our material down to our model, the top of the model. How we do that is we click on our facing toolpath up here. And after we selected that one, we're going to select our tool. And for this, we are going to use a 3/8 inch flat end mill. So over on the left-hand side, we have our sample tool. We're going to click on inch. And you can either scroll through that, or on the right-hand side here, you can look for our flat end mill and select our 3/8. We want to make sure that we're doing a 3/8 and not, we want to make sure that we're using a flat end mill and not a round over or anything else like that. After we have that, we're going to hit select. And we need to go back in there to be able to change the number of our end mill. So you can see I already have this one done. In our machine, our 3/8 inch flat end mill used for milling steel is tool number 10. And when I brought this one in, it came in as tool number 2. And what I can do is I can highlight that and come up top where it says renumber tool. Select that. I'm able to change this and go from number 2 to number 10. Select renumber, select again, and now we can see that we have tool number 10 right there. We want to make sure that we have our flood, or our coolant is going to be flooding, so we're going to have coolant on here. Our spindle speed for this part is going to be 4,000 RPM. Our cutting feed rate is going to be 20 inches a minute. Lead in is going to be 20 inches a minute. Lead out is going to be 20 inches a minute. And our ramp and plunge feed rate are also going to be 20 inches. So then for our geometry, it will already have that selected. Our heights, when we do this, we always want to go from our model top for our heights. And then For our passes are fine. Blinking is fine. Press OK. And now we can see that on here, we're going to be coming down from the right-hand side, and we're going to be cutting towards our part stop. We're going to lift up at the The next toolpath we want to complete is a 3-day adaptive toolpath. What that's going to do is it's going to lay kind of a imaginary mesh over our model, and it's going to take out the things that we don't want, such as this material over here and this material over here. So under our 3D, we're going to click on adaptive clearing, and our tool should bring in our number 10 3/8 inch flat end mill. If it doesn't, you're going to want to come back in here, and we want to reselect our tool. We want to make sure that we have flood coolant, and make sure that we have our spindle speed of 4,000, our cutting feed rate of 20, our lead in feed rate of 20, lead out feed rate of 20. But we're going to change our ramp and our plunge rate both to 15 inches a minute. Next up, we're going to go over geometry, and we are just going to leave that there isn't any machining boundary. It's just going to take a look from the top, and it's going to go down until it is able to cut that out. For our heights, we're going to select our model top for everything. And our offset from our model top, we're going to go down negative 0.125, which is 1/8 of an inch, meaning that it's only going to go down until we get just below that. For our passes, we want to have an optimal load right here of 0.025. What that's going to do is make sure that we are taking off 0.025 each pass. Our minimum cutting radius is going to be 0.035. I want to make sure that we have our machining cavities selected. We're going to be doing a climbing toolpath. What's going to happen is it's going to go with the direction. The last thing that we want to do is we want to come on down to our stock to leave, and our radial stock to leave, we want to leave 0.005 or 5 thousandths, and we aren't going to leave anything axial. Okay, it'll generate that, and we will see that we have our adaptive toolpath. Finally, for our last toolpath, we've already faced off the top. We have cleared that out. The next thing that we need to do is we just need to touch up these two edges right here to make sure that we are intolerant. And to be able to do that, we are going to go back to our 2D and we are going to find our 2D contour on that. And our tool, again, is going to be a 3/8 inch flat end mill. We need to make sure that it's tool number 10. Spindle speed is 4,000. Our cutting feed rate's 20. Lead in and lead out are 20. Our ramp can be 20. Our plunge rate can be 20. For our geometry, we're going to select that inside line right there. And we are going to select that line right there. For our heights, we want to make sure that we are doing everything off of our model top again. Except for our bottom height, that is going to be our selected contours. We want to make sure that it gets all the way in there. For our passes, just leave that all looks good. For our linking, that looks good as well. Press OK. And what that's going to do is that's just going to touch off and finish off that part. So if we want to preview this, we can click on Setup, right click, and click on Simulate, speed it up a little bit. But we can see all of our toolpaths as it goes through. Be able to do that. When you're done with this, please show your instructor, and then you will be able to go and load up the files and load up the parts in the mill to be able to mill these out.